to Let's Get It, where we attack today's local and national hottest sports topics. I'm your host, Randy Dutkin, and let's get after it.
Gentlemen, welcome to Let's Get It. I'm your host, Randy Dutkin, along with my co-host and producer, Jason Bryce, as always, Coach Marcus Bullock, coming to you on a Sunday evening, a rare Sunday evening show for us recently, but a little bit of change due to schedule, which is okay. And you know what? With a lot of the changes in the sports game schedules, we don't have a whole lot to get into as far as recapping the games, but there is a lot to talk about as far as what's going on with the games, the rescheduling, the issues in general with, unfortunately, COVID, which has hit big in the NFL and the NBA, in the NHL, all over the place. But as usual, before we get into it, I would like to see how you doing, Jay?
Hey, you know what? I am doing okay. It's a short week, so I'm a little happy about that. You know, Christmas is here. The tree is up. Everything's doing.
I saw the tree was up.
You saw the tree?
I saw the tree.
Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah, the tree is up. So got a new little tree. Doing all right, man. Just I was just telling Coach offline, like, you know what I'm saying, you know, the weekends come and it always seems like it's you know, you get charged on Friday, like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this in this time frame, this and that, and nothing never pans out. So therefore, out of the 10 things I had to do, I'll say I did 2. And now it's back to work tomorrow. So it's all messed up.
Where would you rank them on the scale of importance, though, in the because like the tree and all get, you know, I feel like that
the tree
one.
been up. No. The tree is up. The tree is up. Tree been up. But like I needed to wash clothes.
Okay.
So no, I didn't get a chance to do that. So now I'll be washing. I'll be washing during the week, which is just added to another list of things I need to do. You know what I'm saying? So I was able to cook today, but then I had some family over and, you know, pretty much everything's gone now. So I have to cook again. But so I'm planning, you know, trying to figure all that out. But it's a short week. So I'm feeling good for Sunday, okay? Because it's a short week. I got Monday, Tuesday, and half day Wednesday. So I can push through this. That's
a good week.
Yeah, this will be fine.
All right.
This will be fine. You know what I mean? But I'm doing well, though. Thank you.
Good, man. Good. I know it was a big weekend, though, too, with Jay getting back on the hard.
It was. A little emotional, I'll be honest with you.
I was going to say.
I'm a little transparent, you know what I'm saying? You know, I had some family in town. My uncle from Boston. Shout out to my Uncle Kev, out at my Aunt Janet. My father, his wife, Ray. My brother came down. So, you know what I mean? Like, so everybody came down to kind of support. Stepmoms came through. She's already down here, you know what I mean? My kids, you know, so we were all, you know, had a nice time. And after that, we went to Olive Garden, like, you know, like the Corleone family, you know what I'm saying?
I don't think we'd have gone to Olive Garden, to be honest with you. But
well, okay. I mean, you understand. You know,
I understand.
You understand where I'm coming from, you know what I'm saying? I had the lasagna classico for $12.99, you know what I'm saying? You can't beat that. You know what I mean?
You didn't go like the tour of Italy?
No.
Okay.
Lasagna classico.
Okay.
I was more interested in the Glenfiddich though, with the drink.
Oh, okay.
As long as they made the drink right, I was good to go. You know what I'm saying? So it was good though. It was a nice time. I went to go see my aunt too in Red Bank. So I saw her and Uncle Toss out there, Aunt Wanda. So it was just a good family. You know, I got family in the house now, you know what I mean? So, you know, we eating and you know, just, you know, being who we are.
That's a good thing though, man. Like I said, I know it was awesome seeing Jay back on the court.
It was.
And just, you know, how far he's come.
It was.
And have a big game too.
He had a good game. Yeah, he had a good game. But, you know, it's just always getting better. You know what I'm saying? Always just, you know, striving to improve. In fact, we was in, you know, and Coach could attest to that, we was in the gym 7 o'clock this morning. So, you know, it's always working. The work never stops. You know what I mean?
Nah, man, all day. I know you want to stay humble, so keep them moving, keep them motivated.
Well, you got it. It's not just humble, but it's hungry. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because like it's with anything in life. You know what I'm saying? You have any, you know, success. Let's say like because it's going to happen. Like when we get to like a little more recognition, and maybe we might get syndicated or we might have something, because it's destined. We're on that pathway, right? So when it happens, we can't be like, oh yeah, now we good. Now we good. Now we gotta still stay the same consistency and hunger that we got right now.
Yeah.
With no bread, no money, you know what I'm saying? So when we start getting the bread and the money, then we already just in motion. We already just flowing. You know what I'm saying? So if you think about it, like, yo, there's so many podcasts out there that start up and then they stop, and they start up, stop. Like, yo, we're every weekend. That's a commitment to you guys, commitment to myself, just a commitment to what we're doing. So we're enjoying what we do.
It's interesting because I like you said that, and it really is a team effort. It absolutely is. And but you see a lot of podcasts where like you'll because sometimes you'll go and watch other people and how they present their shows, and you'll see like, okay, they did 2 or 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden there's a big drop off or this or that, and you're like, well, okay, what's going on? And the consistency. So it is, like you said, you got to stay hungry and stay consistent. So Coach, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. I share the same sentiments as Jay. The weekends, I think this was the longest week of the school year personally for me, and this was the shortest weekend of the school year for me. So, but I'm tired. I got my Christmas lights up on the outside a little bit. I still got one more thing to do outside, but I'm not. I'll be honest. I'm not in the Christmas spirit. Like I'm not there yet.
Sure.
I'm hoping like when I get out of school and it's just like more, I'm hoping that's when it comes. But I'm not like there yet.
Yeah, well, it'll hit you. Just get a little eggnog, a little coquito or something. You know what I mean? It'll hit you.
I never had a coquito.
It's eggnog. The same thing. It's Spanish version of eggnog.
Right.
Very good though.
It is good.
Very good. Very delicious.
Yeah. Nah, I have to get a shot.
My boy Mendoza makes it. Oh man, he's chopping up fresh pineapples, all kind of stuff, man. It's delicious.
I do enjoy that. Like when you get the fruit in there,
it's
gets saturated in there.
Delicious. Yeah.
Well, listen, I mean, unfortunately it's a big week, but it's not a big week all at the same time because obviously the main thing we talk about on Sundays is the Eagles, either recapping the game or previewing the game and whatnot. They've been postponed now to Tuesday. And there's been a lot of controversy back and forth as far as should have played the game, should have not played the game. I mean, it's not just the Eagles. I mean, the Rams game has been postponed. The Raiders game was postponed. I mean, a lot of different games were postponed. You had multiple teams with 6, 8, 10, even 20 positive cases or had to go into protocol. And it's interesting because when you look at it, the one thing the NFL always said is we will not postpone games. And when they first came out this year, that was their thing. We will not postpone games. And now they're kind of getting back to a corner where they didn't have a choice. But you're sitting there and, like, for example, the Washington football team didn't have, they barely had enough players. They weren't even going to have a quarterback. And then Tuesday, like I know the Eagles I just read they had to put one of their offensive linemen in protocol. So I don't really know if there's a fair way to look at it, not fair way to look at it. I think safety's got to be the number one thing. But what are your thoughts on with the protocol and just the developments? And obviously I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. And kind of where do you see it going?
I mean, I think you just have to make a plan and stick to it.
Right.
And I'm not sure. I know the plan originally would have said Washington would have just forfeited this weekend. The Eagles would have got the win.
Yes.
But then they changed the rule or whatever it was and they postponed the game. And I think that's where you start getting in this, a sticky situation with it's like, I don't want to say you're playing favorites or anything, because obviously their number one goal is to get every game in, as opposed to having forfeits for many reasons, money being the number one reason. But I think if you're going to have a rule like that, you have to stick to it. And I think the NBA was smart about it, where they said, listen, if we don't have 8 rostered players healthy, then we postpone the game. You don't forfeit, we postpone it. So that way it's just kind of like, this is what it is. So now the NBA is getting these postponements, but it's clear why they're getting postponements, and nobody's arguing with why they're postponing the games, because that's the rule. That's, we know what's in place. But when you start changing rules, Saturday night, Friday night, that's when you're going to get yourself into some trouble.
It is. Jay, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'd say the same. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that, there's been other teams that have played and didn't have all their players or their regular players, you know what I'm saying? But they still had to play the game. So now why, because of this, now it almost seems a little unfair a little bit. Like, Washington probably was going to get demolished, but so what? Like, it's just the luck of the draw.
Right.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So when you start like saying, oh, that's not fair, whatever, then I just don't like it. I don't like it. I think that, what's good for the goose got to be good for the gander. You know what I'm saying? It's got to, but it's just a funny statement because I don't even know what the hell gander is.
No, and it's funny because I always get asked that because I'll use terms like that. 6 and 1, half a dozen in the other, and goose and the gander, and nobody, what are you talking about?
How's the gander?
I don't know. You know what a gander is?
I don't.
I don't either.
Yeah, I don't know what a gander.
But everyone says it, and like people just go with it.
It's good for the goose. It's good for the gander.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, you're right, but no one really knows.
Nobody knows. If you know, please put in the comments.
please,
send us a message or something.
Please do.
What is the gander?
But you know what? Even look, aside from what's going on with COVID now and the game is being canceled for the Sixers, I mean the Sixers were a mess right now. I mean, just as far as the on court, what you see right now and their ability to close out games, getting blown out in games they shouldn't. And, this roster, of course, with guys injured and whatnot, it's going to make a big difference. But I just looked at the Sixers right now and I'm like, I had no excitement because, and I don't know if, like I said, that's because of just they got to find themselves. But I'm looking at this team right now and just how they go from one night to the next and the lack of consistency.
Yeah.
And I look at it like, what is the ceiling at this point for this team? So.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think a lot of what happened was there were so many teams that made major changes in the offseason that early in the season, I think they're still figuring out who they are.
Yeah.
And now they're kind of settling into who they are, whereas the Sixers didn't make any changes, really. I mean, not having Ben is a change, but Maxey was there before. Maxey has stepped up, improved. But your roster-wise, you're pretty much the same. You added George Niang. Drummond comes in to take Dwight Howard's role. But it was pretty much the same team. You have the same coach. Everything's the same. So I think they kind of started out ahead of the race with that. Now I think you have these teams that are settling in, and now talent is what it is. Like you're missing, a big piece of what you have.
Right.
So
guys have to. We talked about before with Korkmaz earlier, but now everybody has to step up their level, and that's not always.
That's tough to do.
No,
and always happening.
Right. Like you brought up a guy like Korkmaz. We've said it multiple times on this show. A guy like Korkmaz, and guys like Shake. They would have these flurries, a game where they go off and they hit 6 threes or 5 threes because that's what their role is. Coming off the bench, giving you something. But like you said, when they are exposed, when they are forced into the role of playing more minutes than they need to, that's when, their weaknesses are out there and teams can just shut them down.
Yeah.
And
where's I don't really hear from George Niang, the minivan. It looked like the minivan broke down.
Yeah, that's right. In the beginning, he was, he was
tough.
Yeah.
And then, once a little more film came out and said, oh, this is what Philly likes to run for Niang or whatever. Because sometimes I think systems matter. Yeah. Framework of things, you know what I mean?
Well, he's been hurt too. I'll give you
that. I didn't know.
He hasn't played in a while. He hasn't even been on the court in a while.
Okay, so that's why I said it maybe it broke down. I didn't even know you got hurt. Okay. So I mean, well, first of all, did the Sixers lose this week? They lost to the Nets, right?
They lost to the Nets.
They lost the night before too, right?
And they got bombed by the Grizzlies.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not.
And they lost to the Heat.
So they haven't won this week.
And the Heat don't have anybody.
The Heat had nobody playing.
Right.
Kyle Lowry was the only one playing.
Right.
And
but Joe, I mean, Embiid doesn't. I just don't like the way he plays. I like him down low. I don't like him anywhere else. I don't know. They just don't look fluid to me. They don't look good to me, in my opinion. Still my favorite team. But just thankful I didn't go. What game was that? I said I was thinking about going to.
Friday.
That was no Wednesday.
Wednesday night. Yeah.
Versus the Heat, matter of fact. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the Spectrum night.
That's funny because I was thinking about that night too.
Yeah. Spectrum night. Yeah. And I'm glad I didn't. Because I don't know about you guys, but I like to go to the game. I want to see a win.
Yes.
I want to see a win.
Definitely.
If I don't get a win, I'm a little disappointed, to be honest with you.
No, it does. It absolutely does. It absolutely does. And especially like it's something like you're hyped like that. Yeah. Like I said, even like I went down to the Flyers last night. I hadn't been to a Flyers game since like before COVID. And a buddy of mine's a huge Flyers fan, so we do make it down once or twice a year.
Right.
But like when you don't go, it shakes your head. Like, nah, I don't like the product.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. How was it at the Flyers game? Was it packed?
Yeah, it was very packed. I mean, it was really enjoyable. Hockey games are fun.
Hockey games are fun.
They're a lot of fun. I mean, you got like, you know, you go, and if you haven't been to like a hockey game in a while, right, you're like, oh, maybe I get to see a fight. Maybe we'll go to overtime.
Okay.
Got all of that last night.
Wow.
Like, it was like the perfect
And a fight too?
and a fight.
Wow.
Multiple fights.
Wow.
But they don't fight like they used to, though. I mean,
Okay.
hockey used to
It's
be
dangerous, I'm sure.
I know, but hockey used to be so much more intense. And that's what you knew. Like,
They could swing their stick. I don't know.
well, that's not legal.
But no, before they didn't care.
Oh yeah, I
You know what I'm saying?
remember they used to smack the goalies and everything and whatnot. So,
Yeah.
but it was good. But you know, I mean, like I said, with the Sixers, like that's the thing. You know, it's frustrating that. And you just look at it, and the biggest thing, and we talked about it before, and I feel like every week it comes up because you worry about how many more years of Joel do you have, and then on top of that too, like you see Joel being worn down sometimes when he's not supposed to be worn down.
Right.
And you look and see what his play level is right now, what his energy level is at, and you're still seeing him try to do too much, like you said, Jay.
Yeah, well, because
you know.
because it's the sad thing, you know, and it's a fellow Long Island product, you know, Tobias. He's just horrible. He's you know. First of all, I love Danny Green on the bench, so I like that move. You know what I'm saying? And dare I say, I think he's a little more efficient since he's been on the bench a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But Tobias, there's two types of players. There's one that they need this. They need a screen for them to get their stuff.
Yeah.
Then there's the other player that says, nah, F the screen. I don't need the screen. Just let me go do my thing. Tobias needs a screen.
Yeah.
For him to always get busy, he needs a screen. He needs something. I just don't like his one-on-one movement. And he just seems clumsy. It's like, especially in the open court. If he's in the open court and there's a defender, I feel like he's going to fumble it or he's going to miss and he's going to be like this. You know how you do it.
He does. And that's another thing though, is guys like Tobias are, you know, he's still getting that overlooked a little bit. Like, do you think more blame should be placed on him with the contract that he's?
So speaking of the contract, I forget what I was listening to, and they said that they think Tobias Harris, of all the players that are actively playing, so take Simmons out,
Sure.
take John Wall out, take Kyrie out. Well, I guess you can add Kyrie now, but whatever. They said that Tobias Harris has the worst contract in the NBA.
Wow.
And I was thinking about it. I was like, that could be true.
Wow.
For what he produces and what he's done for the team, that could be true.
Yeah. You know, I just, like I said, it just to me, like I said, I like him. And I don't say I don't like him because I'm very mindful of Kwame Brown. I don't want no smoke. You know what I'm saying? I didn't play in the league, so I don't, you know what I mean? You know, relative to who?
Right.
Now I'm thinking about Jalen Rose because he was killing Skip on that though. But I just feel like it's just not gonna work. It's just not working. You know what I'm saying? It's just not working. It's, you know.
I mean, I think he needs to be talked about in trades, just like Simmons. Like, they got to do something.
Yeah.
What they have now isn't working. I think even if Simmons were to come back, which he's not, I still don't think it works.
Which is sad too, because I really thought he was gonna come back.
Right.
But no, he's done. You know what I'm saying? I think he's done. I do still think that he has the mental health. I know Randy, I mean, you know, he's cutting eyes at me, but he does have mental health, bro. Because anytime you won't shoot the ball, there's a mental health block.
No,
There's something
absolutely.
there, you know what I'm saying? So you gotta, in that regard, you gotta admit to that, right?
Absolutely. All right.
Right?
No, I mean, I guess, but listen, we can get into that. Maybe we can even, ask our guest who has now joined us. Coach, how are you tonight? We are joined by Cherry Hill East basketball coach Dave Allen. How you doing, Coach?
Great, guys. How are you?
Fantastic.
All
we
right,
appreciate
all right.
you joining on tonight, and just kind of run a little bit of questions by you in regards to your basketball, maybe just some thoughts on the Sixers and in general. But in general, how are you doing tonight, Coach?
I'm doing good. Had a good weekend, so I'm doing great. Been listening to your show and very interesting conversation.
We appreciate that. So I know, like I said, you had some games this weekend. How did you guys do this weekend?
Oh, we did well this weekend. We played Friday night against Seneca and won, and we were playing in the Jimmy V Classic at Cherokee High School yesterday and won that game as well.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Against West Hampton Tech.
Yeah.
Nice. Good start to the season. Well, listen, with all the coaches that we've had brought on, one of the things we always like to ask about is just your coaching philosophy. And then tell us a little bit about that, what you expect out of your players. And then, we'll kind of have some other questions from the panel here. But just to start off, tell us your philosophy as a coach and what you kind of expect out of your players.
Well, basketball is a game of mistakes. So we try to minimize mistakes and try to have as few mistakes as the other team. And we think if we do that, we can be successful. And by doing that, we try to stress upon the players to, because there's a lot of distractions now about, making great plays. We don't need a whole lot of great plays. We need kids to play great defense, set great screens, be a great teammate. We want kids who play hard, play smart, play together, take good shots, defend, not turn it over. I mean, that's what kind of players we're looking at, but really dedicated players who are dedicated to the game of basketball.
Absolutely. Now, with your team right now, you always like to highlight the schools and highlight some of our local players. And, for your team right now, who are some of your key leaders right now on the team?
Well, we have the core players back. We went back in 2020 when we had a good team. Those sophomores, Jake Green, Drew Green, and EJ Matthews Spratley, they're the core of the team. So they've been playing now for 3 years. This is their third year. And they're a big part of our success 2 years ago and a big part of our success today. We've added since then, Deion Sanders, who's a transfer from Maple Shade. He's a guard. Jalen Holmes, who's a forward for us. And we have, good contributing players. One of our other captains is Stephen Brown. He's a captain, senior guard for us. And we've added Ian Gross and Brian Morty and Brian Cotter, Sean Weldy, Jacob Jones, Alex Levine and Jake Atlas are two returning players, 2-year players as well. So I think I got everybody in there.
No, you definitely did. But one of the things I'm hearing is that you have a lot of depth on your team. And, that kind of makes –
we have a lot of depth. I follow – we talked about philosophy. I follow the John Valori philosophy. We think kids should be able to play 32 minutes, which I think they should extend the high school game to 40 minutes. But 32 minutes is not a long time. I don't play a lot of people. I play 6 guys for the most part.
Okay. Now, Coach, what are some questions you may have for Coach here?
Dave, how are you?
Hey, Marcus, how's it going?
It's going well. So, knowing you the way I do, I know you're huge on leadership and, not only, in basketball, just in life. So you mentioned, one of your captains and how did you go about choosing your captains and, what goes into picking that and what do you expect from your players that you choose to be captains and just, I guess, give us a little bit about your philosophy on that.
Yeah, it's great you brought up leadership. Leadership and Joel, you guys were talking about Joel Embiid before. Oh, my Lord. What we try to do, and I'm being serious here, it's not joking, Randy and Jason here. What we try to do is show, Joel Embiid as a leader, and we want to do the complete opposite of that. So if we say this is how Joel Embiid is, we want to do the opposite. So we think leadership defined by Stephen Covey was communicating the people who follow you, their worth and potential so clearly that they're inspired to see it within themselves. So we want leaders who are able to communicate in a positive manner. One, they have to have, the credibility and the respect of the teammates. So they have to be good players, but they also have to be good leaders. That means good with the little things. They go to class, they're on time, they're good students, they're respectful, all aspects there. So they get the respect there. And then we want them to be able to, a leader has got to get people to follow them. And they've got to be very optimistic. So that's what we're kind of looking for a leader. We're looking at leadership as individuals who have attention to details in the little things and are good communicators and can get the best out of their teammates.
That's good stuff.
That's great stuff. I got to second that. Yeah.
No, hands down. Hands down.
Stuff.
Now, let me ask you this: when you're trying to get through to young athletes, like you were saying, you would use Joel Embiid as an example and say, what he does, let's do the opposite. So I'm going to ask you, if you would had to pick an athlete, we'll say on in the NBA right now, who would you like to say, listen, this is what I'd like you to emulate?
He'll say LeBron.
Does it have to be an NBA? Oh,
It doesn't have
a lot of NBA. That's a good question. What NBA player? The NBA. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example of some players in the NBA that I really like. First, one of the first players I really like is Giannis. Giannis is a guy who, and I know all Philly fans were rooting against. Everybody in Philly had to root for Phoenix last year because Giannis is somebody who's not from here. He's younger than Embiid. He's a guy that was the 15th pick. He goes to an organization and just lifts an organization. Yep. He takes an organization on his back with a bunch of second-round picks and gets them to the final, wins a championship. I mean, he's a guy who's not a great foul shooter and goes like 16 for 18 from the line. He's just somebody, he got hurt in the Brooklyn series, and then it wasn't as serious. He's somebody who's just been good to the game. And when he needed it the most, the game was good to him. And we got a guy who comes in town, out of shape, overweight, gets 2 first-round picks, gets a guy who takes his team to the championship in Butler in Miami. He gets Harris. He gets all these people, and he can't beat Boston with a 19-year-old Jason Tatum and Terry Rozier coming off the bench. The next year, they can't beat the Raptors, who are a newly made team. Simmons gets hurt, and they get swept by Boston. And last year, they lose to a team that didn't have one all-star on the team, fires their coach, and in February, and then when they get to the playoffs, their 3 best players are hurt. Bogdanovich is hurt, Hunter's hurt, and the kid from Duke, Cam Reddish, is hurt. And everybody here just looks at that guy's talent. He's not a winner. He doesn't care. He has a bad culture. So Giannis is a guy that I look to. And Giannis is a guy, and Steph Curry's a guy. Guys who can lift and make other people better, carry a franchise, create a culture that's about winning culture, not about shaking with the cheerleaders and shaking with the fans and coming in, not practicing and coming in to camp out of shape every year except for last year.
I mean, that you just hit the nail on the head. I mean, that.
Well, I agree, but at the same time, everybody's maturation process is at different levels, right? So, Joel, for his age and for what he's, what he had how many years in a row did he set out? 2 years, 3 years?
2 years.
So 2 years in a row, and then still work his way back to still be the best player. I don't know. I don't know if that's fair. I think a lot of it started with Brett Brown. I think when you have a coach who, lays out a framework where he could, people can, be not at their game or not holding them accountable, then it takes some time for that to kind of, get out of that. He's still having effects of that. So I do agree about Giannis, though, because Giannis is a great story where, he is just like a symbol of perseverance, and seeing him get that ring, that to me, I was rooting for them, but I'm not from here though, but I was rooting for him. So,
but
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was saying everybody talks about Joel Embiid's age. He's 27 years old. I mean, how old's Giannis? I mean, how old's the guy? How old's the guy in Denver? I mean, listen, the last time the Sixers have been in the we did all this so that we wouldn't lose in the second round, like when they had Iggy and the kid Drew Holiday and Thaddeus Young.
Yep.
But since they've started this process, 3.5 years of losing, they haven't gotten out of the second round.
Right.
So we look at his age. Everybody's young. Let's call it what it is. He's immature. Right. He's immensely immature, and he doesn't value little things. And the Sixers fans have just been accepted while they attack Simmons. Like it was good. It was great to hear you guys talk about it. Randy, I think it was you and Jason talk about Tobias Harris. Like Tobias Harris gets out scot-free. Let's just criticize Simmons. And here's a guy who's supposed to be the second leading scorer on the team who scores 4 points in the game. I mean, like. He makes $34 million, and we're going to blame it. It's all Simmons. All Simmons' fault. I don't blame Simmons. And the only thing about Simmons is he should have asked out of here a couple years ago. He should have asked out. He should have asked out in 2019 when Joel Embiid called out sick before Game 4 and played like he did in that series. And Simmons did not cost him that series. And everybody's always Simmons' fault. He doesn't even play; it's his fault. So that's my thought.
I totally agree, and that's something that in my profession we're looking for that diagnosis of the Philly fan, of just blaming one person or whatever. I never even thought they lost to the Hawks. It was Simmons' fault. Everybody talked about him missing the open dunk, but that was when it was 87. He made it 87, 88. Nobody talks about the Matisse hitting Herder in the head.
Or the 9 turnovers, 8 turnovers that Joel had.
Joel Embiid had. So, but so Simmons, he does deserve some blame, but not more than the others. My only issue is that, again, we're going back to the framework. And let me just say, hats off to you. Hats off to you guys. You guys are excellent coaches. Like, they always say when a teacher's in the room, like the student learns, right? So hearing you talk your philosophy, I'm just quiet. I'm just listening because it's great information, a great perspective. But I bet you that your perspective is 80 times better than how Brett Brown's perspective was. And I think that's where the problem was. Wow. So you, coach, y'all would have saw Simmons and you would have helped him get his jump shot. You'd have helped his game. You'd have found a way to try to get to him. Brett was just like, hey, it's all good. I'm here just to make sure nothing goes too crazy and to say the right things. Because and coach, to your point, he was brought in for the process.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? So when they started winning, it's like, oh, okay, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I think that you just got to give Doc a little more time. But I will admit, Doc gets on my nerves a little bit. He gets on my nerves a little bit. I still like him as a coach, but he gets, and maybe my affinity for him as a coach was more because I had an affinity as a player. I liked Doc Rivers on the Hawks. I liked him when he came to New York. He got hurt when we had Derek Harper. I liked Doc Rivers when he was in the Clippers. So I liked him as a player. So that gives him a little more bias towards me as a coach. But he's getting on my nerves a little bit, I'll be honest with you.
Well, listen, let me just pick too. Sorry, Coach, real quick, just because this question is geared towards you. You had earlier when you first came on, you had talked about John Valori, and whatnot, and you talked about coaching strategies and philosophies, and you kind of can answer what Jay said, but I also kind of want to know, where did you get your coaching philosophies from, and who were the big influences in your coaching career?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. It's interesting. It's interesting because I had an opportunity to talk to. I got my philosophy. Of course, I got my philosophy from John Valori. I mean, that's the foundation. Like, John Valori is the foundation of the philosophy. I mean, what a great coach and a great teacher to learn from. And you know him, Randy, very well. Of course, as well. So you get that, that you got to work. You got to be committed. You got to be dedicated, loyal to the game of basketball. I'm willing to put in, so much hours. What I learned from Coach Valori is hard work is the basic building block of all types of success. I made a comment to somebody the other day. You look at all these great people. Look how successful they are. It's all a product of hard work. So that started it with John Valori and giving me an opportunity to meet so many coaches. Meet a John Chaney, meet a Bob Knight, be able to see them work. Pat Summitt. We went to a clinic and saw those great coaches, and always putting me in a learning posture. You can always learn. You always learn more. You don't know anything. And then there's some other coaches. As a young coach, I was very fortunate and not really afraid to develop relationships with really good coaches, and then they were able to help me in terms of basketball. One I saw yesterday was Coach Crawford from Camden Catholic, Hall of Fame coach. We sat and talked for 30 minutes, how much I've learned from him. Another one is Ron Powell from Cherokee, who I've learned so much from. And I've known him for over 25 years. And then his best friend, Brian Warwick, who's now the head coach at Burlington City, and was at Rancocas Valley and prior played in the NBA and played for St. Joe's. And the last one is Joe Kessler, Shawnee, who I'm very good friends with. So those guys, all of them, Hall of Fame coaches, and were able to help me as I build the house. John Valori laid the foundation and made you build the house, but then you got to put the pieces in the house.
Yeah, like I said, I know you guys have a great connection with Coach Valori. My thing, obviously, I didn't play basketball. Surprise, surprise. With the skills that you've seen on the court, Jay, and Marcus.
Yeah, I would have never known that.
But listen, you know what I also know about with Coach Valori was just he had a presence too, and like no matter, I always felt like he was always teaching because even like you just walk through the hallways, he would just kind of like give you just always teaching, like you said, and just really great.
Is it fair to say that he had a voice?
He had a voice and a presence. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. So,
Dave, you talk a lot about culture, and you said it with Embiid culture. You talk about Giannis with culture. How did you go about? And I know you said Valori lays the foundation, that kind of thing, but you've done a very good job of creating a culture of hard work at Cherry Hill East. And I've been to your practices and we've stepped, aside and we're having a conversation and your kids are still just working and they go to the next thing. You tell them what's next and they know what it is and they just work or I've been in the gym sometimes, before you've even gotten to the gym and your assistant coaches are there and they're just working. How were you able to create that and how do you sustain that as new kids come in year after year, but that culture doesn't change?
Well, I think how you create it, it's almost like with trust, right? I can tell you, oh, you should trust me, but that's very different than just demonstrated experience of trust and hearing people say, oh, I can trust this person. That will be, because of X, Y, and Z. I think demonstrating that work ethic, letting kids see that you're willing to put forth hours and hours and hours to be good at it. And they see how much time you're putting into it. And then you get your leaders. If you can get your leaders on board in anything, other kids would follow. I mean, we are just by nature conformists. That's why we're Republicans and Democrats and people in certain areas eat a certain way. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Well, I live in Maryland. Maybe I don't like seafood. It's just amazing, but people will follow along. So if you get your leaders to buy in, two people, that's all you need. And you can get the rest of the individuals in your program to buy in. I think that's important. And how you sustain it, it follows along. You always have kids coming back. You got to have, we always have kids come back to practice, talk to the captains. And I think that's how you sustain it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just when you are coaching day in and day out. Now, I know we talk about the things you love to see out of a player. What's the, one thing that is your biggest pet peeve as a coach?
You mean on the court, off the court?
Well, both. But like one characteristic that if a player shows it to you, you go, no, I can't have him on my team.
Well, I mean, you can't have a kid on your team who's just not going to buy into what you believe in as a coach, your culture. So if you have a kid who's going to, kind of break your culture, that's where I think you have to try to get rid of. It's like, I don't, Marcus and I, we grew up in the same program. You got to be on time. Like time is the first step of this whole process. And time, it doesn't really matter if practice starts at 9:30 or 9:31, but if you can show just by being on time and being prepared and being ready, if you have that attention to be like ready to go at 9:25 or 9:15 for a 9:30 practice, then you're going to have the attention to detail to set a great screen and be in the right position defensively, and to really execute a play. If your attention is to that type of detail. So if you're not going to really be into the attention to details of the simple basic rules that you have, that's the kind of player that we don't want.
Absolutely. So it's funny, you had mentioned about growing up with Marcus, and we brought up last time Cooper School. So I want to ask you something about Cooper School because you're a former alumni, correct?
I am. What's funny, I'm sure, Marcus, I'm sure you guys talking about went into the Hall of Fame, and Marcus is one of the best players to come out of not of Cherry Hill East, but out of Cherry Hill, both sides. Very few players. I think there might have been only a few that have scored over 1,000 points in high school and 1,000 points in college. And Marcus is just a product of hard work. I mean, he made himself into player and development. He did most of it at Cooper School.
Mhm.
You know, champions become. Bill Walsh said this: champions become champions before they were ever even thought of. You know, they're champions 10 and 12 years before. So prior to at Cooper School, just watching Marcus just work on his game and play, you know, that used to be the place to play. There wasn't too many full courts. They really didn't have the courts up on Evesham Road. They had
Right.
courts at Moreau Crest School and Cooper School. So that was the place to play. And then, you know, we'd always go up there to work and watch on his game and watch other players work on their game there. It just was a place to play in Cherry Hill.
Absolutely. And we joked about it on the last show that everyone knew which hoop you wanted to shoot at, so you didn't have to change the ball afterwards.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
listen, Jay, do you have some more questions for Coach?
I do. I you know what? I saw your game yesterday. And I'm enamored with the way that you guys move the ball. And I'm actually enamored with most teams that play that way, but I was happened to be privileged to be able to watch your game yesterday. And to see how you guys just move the ball, I just like your philosophy. I think the ball dictates the shot, not necessarily one person trying to, you know, make it happen. And just when you talked about, like, you know, looking for those kids that, you know that, you know, coming to practice at 9:30, but they're there 9:25 ready to work. That's something that you want them to, I guess, show intrinsically. But I get the feeling that you demand that. Is that true?
Yeah, and I appreciate you coming to the game and your kind words. Yeah, you mean demanding them moving the ball?
Demand them moving the ball, but also demand that hey, coming to practice and just getting here at 9:30 is not on time. You're late. You know what I'm saying? So all those things that you want out of your players, I think that you bring it out of them. So, like, even if like, let's say they don't have it, you're teaching them how to be this type of player. That's kind of what I'm gathering from your conversation. You know what I mean?
Well, I think I agree. I think you used to be able to tell kids things and they would just do them. You know, hey, make sure be here at 9:15, be on the court ready to go 9:15. Now I think the teaching and being an educator part of it is telling them why they need to do it, you know, and explaining why. Just like I explained, like, if you're, like I explained earlier, if your attention to detail is so, you know, you're ready to go on that floor by 9:15, then you'll be have great attention to the little things in basketball that comes into winning. You know, just basketball comes in very, you know, making foul shots, not turning the ball over. It's not a lot of big things that you got to do. It's little things.
No thanks. Yeah, it's funny. It reminds me of my stepmom. My stepmom, she me and her, we go back and forth a lot. You know what I'm saying? And she'll say, "Oh, it's the little things. It's the little things. You make such a big fuss over the little things." I said, "But see, au contraire, you know, little things pile up to be big things. Right. But little things, the attention to details, are the things that matter." Last question from me is, Randy asked you a question about your kids. Like, what are some things that kids do, I guess, that would be not okay in your program? So being that you have this philosophy, this perspective that I truly enjoy, what have you seen other coaches' perspectives and philosophies that get under your skin? And what are those type of perspectives and philosophies that do?
What are we getting named?
Well, you know, I got, you know, that's a tough one. Like, if you ask me about trainers, I would tell you about trainers. Other coaches in philosophy, I don't know. I guess coaches.
We'll go with trainers.
We coach, Marcus and I. We know some really good coaches. I mean, you know, when you coach the Olympic Conference, everybody's really, really good, and that's who we play against.
Right.
So that's a hard one because I don't really have. You know, it's not, I don't necessarily see them. I can tell you this, not just coaches that we go against in basketball, but to answer your question, I see other coaches, you know, the other sports, other coaches in general. And what I see that bothers me about them is, one, taking full responsibility for your program and not blaming kids. You take full responsibility when you win, but you don't want to take full responsibility when you lose. Another thing that pet peeve is, it's amazing how many coaches want to spend time with their family when the team gets bad. And then they want to leave and spend time with their family and get to watch their kids. Your kids are 21. That's something that gets me. And that's something that with John Valori, he doesn't bail. When John Valori left Cherry Halise, he left me with a freshman guard who ended up going to Penn and two guys who were recruited in college and all South Jersey players. Most coaches don't do things like that. So that's another thing. Coaches leaving a bad team to probably a young coach, because they're not going to get a really good coach is not going to take a bad team, a 6-7 win team. So you get a young coach coming in there, and it's already hard enough to coach now with everything's going on. And now he's got to coach a 7-8 win team, which means they don't have any talent. So I don't like when coaches do things like that. And the third thing is coaches who aren't willing to work, not willing to work hard, put the time in. There's some coaches in some other sports who, they just coach their season. And basketball and other sports, it's a full-time job now. So you just can't do that. So those would be the three things for me.
Okay. And I do, you brought up, you said trainers. So I'm just curious to hear about that. Do you have some problems like with just how trainers are, I guess, in these days and time?
Yeah, I just think the trainer's message, and I know many trainers, and I love them, and it's hard. One thing you always have to look at, it's difficult. You have to have clients. That's how you make your money. So as trainers, and Marcus is a trainer. The problem that I have with training is the message. You have to sell people on when are you going to get a return on your investment? Like if I'm going to charge you $50, $60, $70 an hour to work with me, there has to be a return on that investment. That's a steep, especially if I want a kid to really get good and he's working out, a couple times a week or 3 times a week. You can get a Lexus for that money. So what the trainers, a lot of them that I know, a lot of them that I see are selling kids on the fact that the return on that investment will be a scholarship, where we know that number and the percentages of that happening are very low. So, but I have to sell that in order to get the people to pay. Whereas I believe you should be selling, we're going to make you the best player that you possibly could be. You may not get a scholarship, but you may get, I don't know, an opportunity to be all conference, an opportunity to lead your team into the playoffs, an opportunity to be a really good player, really good high school player. So I think that's something that I think could sell people, because that's ultimately what they want to do, is be the best player they can be.
Absolutely.
No, 100%. I couldn't echo more of what you said, Coach. Just putting that off-season work in and all year round to make your program better. How about Coach? Do you have any final thoughts or questions for Coach Allen?
I wanted to go back to Jason's question on Brett Brown, because I don't try to rip, but I know the leader sets the culture, but I think Brett Brown was put in a very difficult position with the Sixers, and I remember that team prior to the players coming in, the highly drafted players. Those teams played hard, and he developed players like a T.J. McConnell and a Robert Covington. I think what happened to the Sixers, and really Sixer fans and Philly fans don't focus in on this. Sixers fans don't value the little things like culture and leadership. And, I'm hard on Joel Embiid, however, he came into a losing culture. And I think he didn't come into a culture where you had veterans who were able to teach him how to work and teach him how to be a leader and teach him how to be a winner. And I think his immaturity just allowed for him to be bigger than the franchise. So I don't know how Brett Brown could really discipline Joel Embiid. I just don't know how he could do that, because he didn't have necessarily the credibility of some of the top level coaches in the NBA.
Right. I get that. But you know what? It's like Joel Embiid's a talent, right? So we can't, he part of his immaturity is him showing moments of maturity, right? So I thought it was very mature of him to say, hey, listen, I'm the process. So he's taking that onus on and say, listen, get on my back and we can make this work, right? But now when you don't have that perspective of how to necessarily build around him or whatever the case may be, then we got to look at a Brett Brown or whoever else is in charge. It's the same thing with AI, right? So AI, I mean, I don't think AI ever mature in Philly? He was never mature. He was just a hell of a basketball player that would give his life for the game and for every play. But Larry Brown was smart enough to say, hey, listen, Stackhouse, bye-bye. You know what I mean? And let me build some other people around you. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm kind of like with Brett Brown and more towards not holding Joel Embiid, but more towards him holding Ben. I think that he was not necessarily objective as he should have been with Ben. I think he might have stunted Ben's growth instead of helping facilitate that to be better.
Well, Ben's a different story, but go on. But in terms of, to me, Ben's a different story because Ben gets criticized way more than Embiid does because it's just on people that can shoot. Heck, Marcus can shoot. I mean, Marcus is a shooter. Let's trade Ben for Marcus. I mean, like, it's silly. So, I mean, I don't know if Marcus can still get 15 and 15 after he hit about 10 threes. But Joel Embiid, though, you called him the process. I mean, you mean that team's not good? But Jason, if that team's not good enough to beat 19-year-old Jason Tatum and Terry Rozier, they're not good enough. Think about it. They're not good enough with that guy on the team to beat the Atlanta Hawks or not get swept by the Boston.
No, but see, that's not fair, Coach. I mean, listen, Atlanta, I won't even touch because it's still a sore spot, but also I'd have to process that more. But when we talk about that Celtic team, Stevens outcoached Brett Brown because in a lot of those games, Philly was right there. And then there was mistakes or just poor play, no movement. What was that? That was one of the Brett Brown's basic problems. No movement in the who says in the guts of the game? Whoever that commentator, I think is that Zumorf or whatever, in the guts of the game or whatever the case may be.
When you're coming in for a landing,
the guts of the game. Right. But I say that he got outcoached there. I think Stevens outcoached him.
How about if you feel that way, sometimes I think players get outplayed. I mean, Jason, like, all right, that was 1 year. The next year they have the Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris. They could have gone up 3-1. He calls out 6:30 in the morning. Next year they get swept by Boston. Next year they used Atlanta. I mean, they have four very different teams. They've had four different teams, two head coaches. The result is still the same. And everybody in Philadelphia is just okay with them. But when we had like guys like McNabb, Barkley, Iverson, we always are saying, no, you got to lead your team. Like team success is also linked to your personal success. However, with Joel Embiid, when they lose, we talk about how talented he is. But when Durant loses and Steph loses and LeBron loses and Giannis loses, we talk about them as not being strong enough leaders. And I think that's the problem. And he should be in that class, and he's not.
But you know what, you're right. But then also, I guess from that last little statement, I think I might want to talk more with you because he might be going on that back to that research that I want to do though a little bit, because now you're talking about McNabb, right? McNabb never won anything. He was what? Was he great? I think McNabb
Hall of Fame quarterback. Right.
Was he the greatest Eagles quarterback?
Yes.
I mean, I think second to Nick Foles, right? You agree?
Get the hell out of here.
Then we talked about Iverson, we talked about Barkley. The thing is that, you know what? Listen, if you look at it, they're kind of all in the same stratosphere. Having success, but never being able to get over the hump. Because neither
wait a minute. We can't compare. Wait a minute. We can't compare Joel Embiid to Barkley, to Iverson or McNabb.
Those teams and errors, though, I'm talking about.
No. every one of their teams overachieved at some point. Joel Embiid's teams underachieve every single year. They lose to teams that they're better than. Those guys, I mean, McNabb's teams, I mean, they went to the Super Bowl. They went to NFC Championship game.
And didn't
Barkley's
win.
teams, like Barkley pushed them. Those teams were terrible. As soon as they got rid of him, those teams, that's when the original process started. You know,
true.
and Iverson took his team to the final. This guy allows everybody else. This guy allows everybody else to overachieve. How does Denver, how does Atlanta, how does Milwaukee, all these teams get to the conference finals before the Sixers? And the Sixers have two overall first picks, and another guy who would have been the first pick. I mean, it's just, and you're right, Jason, you're right. The Sixers have organizational problems, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the cause of it. And because they have organizational problems at the top, it funnels down to a guy like Joel Embiid. Because, you know, the NBA is about making money. It's not about winning anyway. And he sells tickets and makes money.
And if anything is passed over, I'll say that Howie Roseman gets an unfair knock, and maybe not as much blame goes on like the Sixers leadership and what they do, because they haven't brought a chip to Philly since '83. Okay, at least Roseman got the job done.
Well,
I'm not going on the tangents. I'm just bringing out points of view. It's just points of view.
But again, it also comes down to the fan base of each team. The fan base of each team.
Right, but think about
because even though it's Philly fans, every Philly team has a different type of fan. The fans that support the Eagles, the fans that support the Sixers, the fans that support the Phillies, the Flyers, all have there's the ones that's their main team and they support them differently.
There's a Philly fan you're talking about.
Right.
The Philly fan. Okay. So the Philly fan is the Philly fan, bro.
No,
you know what I'm saying? The Philly fan is the Philly fan.
No, it's not.
But listen, more people will go in on Howie Roseman, and the Eagles don't know what they're doing.
That's because it's the top team in the city, though. People care more about the Eagles than anybody else.
Okay, I mean that's fair.
I'm just saying. I mean, you're right though, but that's why
they're 4 years removed from the. You know what I'm saying? But I get it though, and I'm not saying I disagree because I do agree. I just think that you know, Embiid, is he immature? Absolutely. You know, has he shown levels of maturity? Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's all part of still being immature. Someone that shows moments of maturity and moments of immaturity. And I'll take that. But, you know, I just think that's the process, right? That's why he said he's the process. So I don't know. I don't think Embiid's the problem. I don't like the fact you're right. He does come into camp out of shape. He always seems like he, not as much so more. I feel like he gained a little bit more weight, a little more girth. So it doesn't seem like he's like falling every time now. Maybe those falls have decreased a little bit. But the fact that he just won't like punish everybody, you know, in the post or, you know, high post or whatever. It's the fact that he's still, you know, hovering around the 3-point line and whatever that. But I'm wondering, was that a perspective that Brett Brown made him do because of how Ben was? You know, everything was done for him. I didn't like that, man. You know, you know what I'm saying? Like everything was done for Ben so that Ben could be effective. Matter of fact, back to Brad Stevens. What did they do? Did they zone them in that playoff? They zoned them and just dared Ben to shoot. They gave nothing but space.
They just they walled them off every time.
I mean, you know.
Well, I mean, who in the NBA? If you look at the teams who have won in the NBA who are successful, they don't do it with guys like Embiid. So, I mean, like Embiid, he's very talented. He's very, very talented. But can you actually win with him being your best player? I mean, it sounds crazy. They would never do it. But a few years ago, I suggested he's the guy they should trade. I would have built the whole team around Simmons, get some playmakers or, you know, guys who can shoot around Simmons and play Simmons at the, you know, let him guard the 4-man, have him as a point guard. But I just think, I don't know how much you can win with a guy like Embiid as your best player.
I mean, that has been a question for a lot of times is how far can he take you? And his game, the type of game that leads you. Like you brought up Giannis, and you see the versatility that a guy like Giannis has, and can a guy like Embiid, you know, lead a team to, you know, a title. But now, Marcus, did you have anything for Coach?
I just have one final question for you that we ask all our coaches. As we're trying to reach out to as many high school coaches in the area, do you have any coaches or who do you think would be a good coach for us to have on the show? With that being said, we need you to help us get that individual or those individuals on the show.
How many you want? There's one who I told you last time will make your show.
Yeah. I don't know if he's gonna come. I don't know if he's
Hey,
coming.
get Rick. I'm telling you, Rick Brunson is one of the smartest people I know, and so intelligent in talking basketball. It's just you got to get him on the show. You got to get him. He's got not that he has a top 5 team, but the fact that hey, you can get a lot. He's just he's super entertaining too.
Listen,
are you allowed to cuss on this show?
Yeah, we can.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, it'll be even better.
Listen,
Coach, I'm even trying to pull my strings at Camden High and talk to people I know, and it's been a struggle,
Hey, listen,
he's not happy anyway because we want to use the basketball court for baseball, and he wants none of that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you got to contact his agent.
I know.
He would be a great one to have on the show.
No, absolutely.
He got some other, and anybody in the Olympic Conference would be good. So any of those guys.
Well, who would your guy be? Who would your guy be? And said I can get him on. I can connect you with him, and he'd be a great interview.
A great interview. Wow. I'd have to think somebody from the Olympic Conference. I mean, I would love to get Brunson, but Marcus knows. Hard to get Brunson on the show.
Hard to get.
I can try.
right.
What about that coach? The coach that coaches out there in Medford. How do you think he would enjoy it?
Coach Kessler, is a great friend of mine. I can get you Coach Kessler on the show.
That would be good.
Yeah, I'll get you Coach Kessler on the show. Absolutely.
Sounds
Tell
good.
me when you want him. You want him next week? Week after?
Listen, we can figure out the date, but absolutely, and we can touch base and give me the information and I'll do the legwork, but definitely putting the word in his ear and we'll take care of it.
Well, you're gonna, he's a great coach. He's a great coach. You go to his house, you see about 6 state championship trophies.
Right.
In my house, you see nothing. You see bare walls.
They're coming.
Not yet.
They're coming. No,
but yeah, I'll definitely get him. He'll be great.
Sounds
great.
Good. Well, listen. I don't know if anyone has anything else for Coach. I know.
I do. Listen. Are you still? Let me ask you a question. I know the Eagles is your team, right? The Eagles.
Absolutely.
I remember from last conversation.
You're gonna bring up Carson.
No. But he was a Carson fan.
I know. Well, it's okay.
But I'm wondering, are you a Jalen Hurts fan?
He's a great guy. He came over to Cherry Hill West and worked out at Cherry Hill West. He's a great guy. Root for him.
Okay. All right. Do you like him better?
Root for him. If you haven't noticed, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of a few people. I'm a Tom Brady fan, so I root for Tom Brady. I root for Andy Reid. I root for Jalen Hurts. I root for Jalen Hurts because I read a great book, Third and a Mile, and how basically the book is based upon the African American quarterback. And they say the worst thing you want to be is third and long. That's 3rd and 7 or longer. However, this is in the preface of the book. He said for a black quarterback, it's 3rd and a mile, and that's the title of the book. So I root for Jalen Hurts, and I want to see him perform because I like the Eagles and I know how difficult it's been on the black quarterback.
Right.
So I root for him, Brady, Andy Reid, and as you can tell, I'm a huge Ben Simmons fan. Huge.
Yeah, I know.
I love Ben Simmons.
So I mean, you do agree that he does have. So you do agree that he has a little mental health. He's got some mental health problems, right?
No, hey, listen. All I agree with, I don't agree with that at all. All I agree with is this: he's not appreciated this town. This town doesn't appreciate assists, defense, and rebounds. And you're seeing it now. You're seeing it. As long as Ben Simmons is on that team paired with Embiid, they can compete with the best teams in the East. Without Ben Simmons, and everybody talks about what he can't do, and he can't do this, and he can't do that. Well, you won't trade him for Malcolm Brogdon. You won't trade him for Buddy Hield. You won't trade him for Andrew Wiggins. So you have to be pretty good. If you want to take a guy and trade him for a top 75 guy in the history of the NBA and Damian Lillard, then you're telling me he's pretty good. So I just think Ben Simmons is really good. No, I don't think he has any mental health issues.
Wow.
Zero.
Well, Randy, I know Randy agrees with that. Hey, listen, I like Ben Simmons. I'm not saying I don't. I like Ben Simmons. I think there is something mentally where he kind of, he's afraid of big moments, but that can still be immaturity as well, right? So we can, we could say that. But I do like Ben Simmons. I'm not going to. I hope he comes back. I'm still thinking. I hope that he does, but I don't think he is though. But I hope he does, though, because I think we're better with him.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, and what I was going to ask you, Coach, was what do you think is going to be the ending of the Ben Simmons saga?
Ben, he's not coming back. So he's going to go off to a team, and he'll go to a team. I think he's going to be successful. Depending on the team and the organization, they're going to be successful. And about 17 years, he's going to walk into the Hall of Fame. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame player. He's a Hall of Fame talent. So it's just unfortunate. It's unfortunate that this town disrespects rebounding, assist, and defense so much that they chased him out of town. Whereas we didn't do that to Steph Curry with his defense. And I'm not saying he's Steph Curry, but I'm saying we lost for 3 years for this guy. We lost for 3 years, and now we're going to lose him. We lost for 3 years for Markelle Fultz. We lost for 3 years for Jahlil Okafor. And now the process, when he leaves, so Randy, to answer your question, they kind of ended the process when they traded for Markelle Fultz, and the process is over when they get rid of Ben Simmons. It's over.
Yep, and it's a failure.
Yes, because we were sold on, and I agree with Sam Hinkie. In order to get better, you got to get better talent. But we were sold on. We weren't happy with the Sixers, with the Thaddeus Young teams and Drew Holiday and Iggy teams because they couldn't get out of the second round. And we went 8 years of the process, and we haven't gotten out of the second round. So therefore, we're at the same point we were back in 2011 when this thing started.
And I think that's where I need to start doing like some of my great work at, whether it's for a doctoral program or something, just that DSM-5 diagnosis of the Philly fan. It has to happen because, it's the same thing like with Iguodala, right? Iguodala's a Hall of Famer.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. And Drew Holiday is going to wind up being a Hall of Famer.
Well.
I was going to say, borderline Hall of Fame.
Right. But when Iggy was in town, people couldn't stand him.
But no, in fairness, Iggy's game has changed big time since he left Philadelphia.
What's changed?
And I think his role, though,
well, he's not the man. Like he's not the man. Yes. I think Iguodala, we paid him to be the man.
He paid him to be Robin,
and he did a great job while he was here. Mm-hmm. But he wasn't. I don't think he's not a number one guy.
So, and I agree. So if I hear you correctly, other teams built some other players around him for him to be successful.
They put him around a better players.
Yeah. Nobody said we're going to build around Iggy.
Okay.
Iggy is the piece we need to make,
He's a piece instead of the foundation.
Okay. I buy that. Okay.
He's a phenomenal, he's like a phenomenal piece that you need, but I don't think
I just think that sometimes, you have those coaches or whatever, they can bring the best out of you and put you in positions for your highlights or your attributes to really shine.
Absolutely.
And whoever said, okay, you know what? We don't need Iggy to be, because in Denver, he was still Was he like still a complimentary
I
piece?
don't remember him.
Yeah, I was
He
gonna
was it. He got traded to
No,
Denver.
I remember he got traded. I'm trying to think. I don't remember what he did in Denver. He was
still like
he was yeah.
But when he went to Golden State is really when his Hall of Fame got
Yeah, right.
solidified or whatever. So, I do like Iguodala. I always thought that Ben could be like a better version of Iguodala. You know what I'm saying? But Ben doesn't want to work on the jump shot, and I still think that that's still part immaturity. And I think if he had a coach or somebody to say, "Hey, listen, bro, you need this to even elevate you," then I think that Ben is here. I just don't. I think that when Brett Brown, you can pacify somebody and then kind of like turn them spoil a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my opinion.
I think Ben Simmons works on his jump shot. He works on his jump shot every day. So he works on his game. So
Yes.
I mean, I just think we focused on that aspect of his game. We don't focus that. We don't do that to other people. Why don't we just look at production? He's one of the best players. We're getting rid of one of the best players in the world. He's one of the top 24 players in the NBA, and we're getting rid of him because he won't shoot. We don't get rid of guys because they're not great defenders. We don't want to get rid of a guy because he's not a great passer, can't rebound. But because he won't shoot, forget everything else, and let's just, treat him like he's the worst. We don't treat Shake Milton like that. He's way better than Shake Milton.
Why do you think he won't shoot?
As he has mental.
He's not. You know what? That's another issue. I don't know. He's not comfortable. He's not comfortable shooting for whatever reason. Maybe it's because it's almost like it could almost be like Michael Vick in sliding. Michael Vick had a problem sliding. I know it's a little bit different. Or a quarterback like Jalen Hurts. They say he gets off of his first read, then he runs. I don't know. But I mean, the focus on that we shouldn't chase him out of town for that. We should all be trying to correct it. Like we should hold out because we're never going to get equal value for him. So instead of the media riling up the fans like we're watching Fox News or CNN, instead of doing that, they should tell the media should be simply because the sports media just really doesn't. They're not knowledgeable enough about basketball. They should be telling Ben to attack the basket more, improve your foul shooting, and improve finishing at the rim before shooting. Because if he just did that, he'd have 20 points a game, have 8 assists, 8 rebounds. If he just improved his foul shooting and attacked the rim more. But they don't say that. They say, you should shoot pull-ups. I want a guy shooting pull-ups now who won't shoot. It's silly. So, I mean, we should have all focused on that like we did with Fultz when it was an injury and because it's just going to end bad. It's going to end with the end of the process.
It is going to end bad, but I think the issue is that, listen, there would have been a little more patience if Ben was paid, say, $20 million for over a course of 5 years, 6 years. But when you're paid that kind of money,
Wait a minute. You said it. You pay that kind of money for a guy who made third All NBA, second defensive player of the year, 3-time All-Star. Yeah, you should be mad you're paying the money to. You should be mad you're paying the money to Tobias Harris. Because if you had maybe Lou Williams here and Marcus Morris instead of Tobias Harris, or Malcolm Brogdon and Tobias Harris, you probably go to the NBA Finals one of these years. I mean, like people are kill Simmons for how much money he made. Hey, at least he's good.
Well, in fairness, now Tobias is good now. I mean, he's 20 points.
He's not that good. What I mean,
he's a weak player.
This is when the Philly thing starts to.
No, but because he gave me 20.
He's still 20 points.
20 points, but it's a quiet 20. When have you ever?
Tobias Harris scores 20 points when the Sixers win by 20 or lose by 20.
Right. Thank you.
Whenever down the stretch.
No, you're right. And
you watch the Celtics game? You watch the Celtics game at the end of the game?
Yeah. I mean, listen, he gets shook.
Al Horford is as old as Marcus.
I get. Yo, he gets shook, but Well, we can't talk too much about Tobias
Because
if
he
we
scores
don't
20
talk
points.
about. Wait a minute. If we don't talk about Ben
He scored-
Benjamin,
No, but the thing is, you're
20 points.
contradicting yourself. You contradict yourself because you don't want to see the.
I don't really do that.
No,
So
no,
I'm-
no, no,
I'm-
because
I'm gonna
But what I'm
challenge you on this.
okay,
one.
but listen, but like what coach is what coach is saying is that you still need to put more stress on Tobias. And it's not just about Ben.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with putting the you heard me say like, yo, Tobias, he's not getting it done. But Tobias ain't running. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but Tobias, listen,
You have to show up to run.
but he's shooting. At least he's shooting.
Well,
At least he's doing it though.
all right.
Is he defending? Who can he defend?
Refuse to shoot.
Hold on. I'm sorry, coach. What'd you say?
Everyone's. That's what I'm saying, Randy. This is exactly what I'm saying. You hear Jason? He scores 20 points. Like two years ago, Ben Simmons scored 16 points. He only needs 4 more points. That's 1 more basket and 2 more foul shots. That's all he needs. So now we're so hooked on this 20 number. Who can Tobias Harris defend?
Here's
Who can he defend?
Dave, here's the problem. And I think this is why everybody comes at Simmons. Because he has the potential to be so much better than he is.
Well, I think
Tobias
it's social media
Harris,
piece too.
Tobias Harris is who he is. He's not like, I think Tobias Harris gets the most out of what he can be.
Yeah.
I don't think Joel Embiid does. I think Joel Embiid could be a lot better than he is. But I think Ben Simmons can be a top 5 player in the NBA. And you say he's top 25. I don't agree with that, but I think he could be.
What don't you agree with?
I don't think he's a top 25 player in the league.
Okay, how's he not? He made the All-Star team the last 3 years.
I mean, well, Julius Randle made the All-Star team. too.
No. He legitimately made the All-Star team. He legitimately made it.
Well, no, I think he made it because of who he is.
Right.
No,
I
he
think
don't.
there-
He made
I think-
it
I
because
think there were people. I think there were people who had numbers of rebounds, assists, all of that were better than him in 2 of those years. So I'm just saying,
It's not about numbers. It's not about numbers. I mean, like we saw people with numbers.
one year
Just
he
because
made
you
it,
have
Bradley
numbers.
Beal did. There's no way he should have made it over Bradley Beal that year.
Well, okay, I gotta look at who else is on the team.
Well, that's fine, but I'm just saying. I think when you have a guy who I think has the potential, and I like Ben, and I think I'm going to root for Ben wherever he goes. When he could be a top 5 player in the league, and we're not seeing that
Work ethic,
growth.
He has the work ethic. Trust me.
We're not seeing that growth year after year. And I agree with you. I don't, and everybody says, oh, I need him to come back and shoot jump shots. I don't need him to take 1 jump shot the whole season, but I do need him to be aggressive going to the basket. And he doesn't even have to shoot when he goes to the basket, but when he's driving hard to the basket, that's when it opens up for other people.
Right.
But when he starts doing his thing where he's driving and just jumping and turning, nothing's open. And that's where they get hurt in the playoffs. So I think that's why Ben gets, for me anyway, the criticism. Tobias is who he is. He's not getting any better. That's who he's going to be. I don't think they should have paid him, but they did. Whatever. Ben Simmons could be so much better than he is.
And I think the problem is, just to piggy on that, is Ben Simmons the weakest link in the playoff series?
No.
In a playoff series?
No. And I agree with Mark. I agree with Marcus. That's why he gets criticized. No, he's not the weakest. No, he's not the weakest link.
How come everybody attacks him? All the opposing coaches, they attack him. They do things.
They do. Right, they attack him. He's not
That's
the
how they've
weakest
been
link.
winning, though. They would Hacker Ben? Hacker Ben?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you're.
Was
No,
that one reason why the Hawks won? The Hawks won. It was that one of the main reasons that why the Hawks, they totally took him out of the series.
That's not the reason why the Hawks. No, I think the reason why the Hawks won was because Tobias Harris had 4 points in a close game. I mean, how does that happen? You never hear of a top player having 4 points in the game as the number 2 scorer. That's ridiculous. I mean, that's why they lost. They lost because Tobias Harris was 8 for 24 one game and scored 4 points in another game. That's simple. That's 2 games. You only need to win. You only need to win 4, right? So in one game, he was 8 for 24. In another game, he scored 4 points. That's it. I mean, if you didn't have Ben Simmons in that series, they wouldn't even been close because they couldn't guard. You saw Young. No one could guard him but Simmons. So, no, I don't think. I think the weakest link in that series was Tobias Harris.
How much? But Tobias only had 4 points in that game 7.
No, not game 7.
Yeah, no, it was game 6 or 5, 5 or 6.
Game 5.
Right, when they were back home, right? Is that when they were? Or they went to,
Yeah, 5 was at home.
right, and then they went down. No, did they win that one?
No,
I don't
5
know.
they went down
3-2. Right. Okay. But what did I'm curious to know, what did Harris have in game 7? Because game 7, listen, we can talk about
He
game
did.
4.
Game
7 is
he
what.
was let's not. Everyone just looked at his points. He was 8 for 24 in game 7.
Okay, and
Oh, he was.
and
Okay.
in the fourth quarter he was very, very bad.
Okay.
Very bad. I mean,
Very bad.
he's your best perimeter player off of the dribble, and I think maybe they should put him in screen roll at the end because he's not, so he can go against a guy with a better matchup. But if you're paid, you gotta be able to take shots and make shots at the end.
Okay, and to that point is why I be getting on Benjamin, because if he paid, he gotta take shots and make shots. You gotta do it. But I agree with you. I'm not saying I disagree with you, because I like Ben. In fact, when they were talking about some rumors a long time ago about how this Embiid and Simmons fit can't work, I said that the one to go, I think, will be Embiid. Number one, because he's just more injury prone. I think that Simmons is just a little more durable. You know what I'm saying? And you see the potential that he can be. If he had a jump shot, I'm telling you, like, it would just be but I hope that it could be worked out. I don't think it could. And I think that you're right. I actually think that he gets traded. But I just don't know when. I think we're in this for a while.
Well, listen, we brought the stats here. So, Coach, you want to comment on that?
No, I mean he was right on top. He was 8 for 24. He had 24 points, 2 of 7 from 3. Embiid was 11 of 21, 31 points, 2 of 5 from 3. I mean,
Where's the game where he scored 4 points?
What was Simmons?
Simmons was 2 of 4, 8 rebounds, 13 assists.
I like the assists, I like the rebounds, but for $192 million, that 4 points is just not getting it done.
No.
What about the 13 assists and 8 rebounds? What about the 13 assists, 8 rebounds in the defense?
No, but yeah, that you're right, but not for $192 million.
So
I don't
for
wanna-
180 and for 180 million, you got 8 for 24.
But the total he got was 24 points. He still scored. He still put points on the board.
I'm sorry. Wait, is 8 for 24 33%?
Don't matter. It's still 24 points though. 24.
Well, that's a lot. I think what
That's a lot of
that's just a lot of empty possessions.
Yes.
So if you're going to go 8 for 24, that means those possessions, and a lot of them were right at the rim. A couple of them were wide open threes.
Sure.
Those, when you miss those shots, that's the same thing as a turnover.
8 for 24. So in fairness, now he had 4 shots that he should have made to at least be 50%. Because if he was 12 for 24 or whatever, then they would have been
right,
all
and they win the game.
And we win the game.
We win the
They
game,
win the
right?
game.
But now let's go 2 for 4. Now, if you shoot more and you produce more, you're 192 million. You only scored 4 points. That's a problem.
But he's defending. I'm not saying
You need your top guys to score. Everybody got to. Listen, bad shooting nights happen to the best of them and to the worst of them. Not saying it. I'm just saying. I know. I did like this. I didn't want you to think I
Well, I was going to say.
No,
I hit some threes in my day.
No, you did. No, you did. I wasn't going like this. But it happens to the best of us and the worst of us. But you still need the point production. You know what I'm saying? You still need the points, though.
I agree, but there's no other guy who's a top player who's not giving you production. Ben Simmons gave you production in that game. He had 13 assists.
Yeah. And
So 13 assists,
what do you
they
do from the
say
foul line?
with analytics is like 1.5 points. So like each assist. So he's giving you production. He's defending, gave you 8 rebounds.
I think the problem here is it's not. I don't think it's whose fault was it, one or the other. I think they both have to produce more.
yes.
If
I agree.
the Sixers are going to be the team that they want to be or that they say that they should be, going back to that Atlantic series, Simmons has to be better offensively.
Why?
Tobias has to be better offensively.
Why has Simmons gotten worse?
What do you mean gotten worse?
I mean, why has there not been any growth? What you're saying is he has to be better. Why isn't he better? Because I believe he's not better. I believe he's not better because of Embiid. Because when Embiid, look at his numbers when Embiid doesn't play. I mean, didn't he have 42 points when Embiid didn't play?
At one time.
Washington?
Yeah.
Against Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he did.
So when Embiid doesn't play, he's better.
But there was also times when Embiid didn't play, and we're like, these are the games where he has to show up, and he didn't.
I'd have to remember what those games are. When Embiid, I'm sure you're right. I'm not saying you're not. But I'm saying he's a better player. I remember this is when I said they should trade him back. I think it was 2018 where Joel I think he banged into Fultz or something, hurt his eye, out 20. They won 20 games in a row, I think. They won 20 games without him. Do you guys remember that?
Oh,
I don't.
At the first year.
End of the season.
End of the season.
End of the season. They won 20 games. So I just think he's a better player without Embiid.
I mean, that could be very true. That could be very true. I just think to not see the growth, and I'm not talking about him shooting the ball. I'm talking about his offensive aggressiveness. And I think a lot of that comes from his inability to make foul shots. That we haven't seen that. And I think that's where I think he's got to get, if the Sixers were going to be a championship level team, he has to improve in that. Tobias has to become more efficient, better in late in game, and Embiid just has to be better overall. Because having 9 turnovers, you can't do this.
It's ridiculous.
But you're the only media outlet that's talked about Joel Embiid's 9 turnovers. And I'm probably the only one who said that Tobias Harris should be, shot 33%. But everybody from all the radio talk show hosts and all those people talked about Ben Simmons' pass to, I guess,
right. I think that's
all they
unfair.
talked about.
That's just easy to talk about. That's easy.
Yeah, that was unfair.
That's lazy.
But how much longer is Simmons and his people going to allow that? Allow for one guy to, no matter what he does, he doesn't get criticized, and Simmons gets criticized for everything he does. Look, they had a game where he had 6 points, 15 assists, and 15 rebounds. He got criticized. Now, in the playoffs, that's ridiculous. So, and they won the game. And people forget, Seth Curry had about 37 points, and Embiid had 33. There's not too many slices to go around of that pie. So, I mean, enough's enough. It's time for a change of scenery. I'm happy for him, and I think he's going to do a great job wherever he goes, and Philadelphia's going to regret getting rid of him, just like they're regretting getting rid of the guy in Indianapolis. How's that working out?
Right. See, I just been standing back on that one now. So you think, well, Carson's having a good year though.
No, he's not.
He's not.
Last night he was terrible.
Was he?
He was terrible last night.
I don't know.
He was terrible. Overall, it's a decent year, but when Carson is done, it's over with. Yeah. It's over with, Coach. Listen, and I was a Carson lover.
But you knew what he had.
But you got to know what a relationship is. Look,
you knew.
Right. No, Randy, I agree with you.
But the reason why last night we got the draft pick, whatever. But my thing is this, and you know what? To touch on that real quick, like you talking about rooting for Jalen Hurts, I can't understand why people were rooting against Hurts. Like what?
Because of Carson.
No, and it was Carson. No, but there was a lot of people that I knew that were rooting against Jalen Hurts. And I said, if you want this team to succeed, you should want Hurts to be the answer. You should want Hurts to be the quarterback, because then we can go and we can address other needs. Why root it? And then a guy like Minshew comes in and has a decent game, and all of a sudden, I'll put Gardner Minshew in. Stop.
And I can tell you why. Is because, listen, Minshew made some passes that were beautiful passes, right? So what does Jalen get knocked on? The fact that he has an attribute in using his legs to make big plays. But that attribute has now become a flaw. And that's where it's like, I don't understand that.
Well, you're gonna get a big answer this week, because if Hurts plays, which I think he will, He's not going to be able to utilize his running ability as much, and he's going to have to make some passes.
And I want to touch on Coach's point. He brought up Michael Vick when Michael Vick didn't slide, and again, I think just certain demographics are critiqued differently because Michael Vick got criticized, dogged that he didn't slide, but Carson never did, and Carson didn't slide like that.
No,
it's the same thing. Like,
but he didn't slide because he didn't slide. But Vic,
This is the thing and I hate, and it's the truth. In one demographic, if you can use your legs and run, it's celebrated. Another demographic, if you can use your legs and run, it's a flaw. That's what I'm starting.
It's held against you.
And I don't understand that. I've noticed that. I'm like, wait a minute. You know what? What do you mean?
Systemic racism.
I'm going to say this, and this is a strong statement. I think it's because it's not expected. Look at our quarterback. Look at the white quarterback who can run. But the black quarterback, you should be fast. You should be able to run.
Yeah, well,
listen.
I don't know.
I'm telling you.
That might have opened. That might have opened up.
Listen, and I don't mean that in any kind of defensive way. No. You listen. If you want to have a show, you got to say controversial statements.
Well,
right?
You can. You can.
I can say right. But if you ask, I guarantee you that is a mentality of a lot of NFL fans, which is why they get looked at that way.
What's a mentality of a certain demographic?
Oh, right.
Fan.
Okay, but you want
but like you said, Randy, like if it's unexpected, but it's celebrated when they do it. Like, look at this guy run. Great job. So when somebody else runs, why is it seen as, he's got to stop running. He's got to stay in the pocket.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's
because people always say the passing quarterbacks win in the league for the most part. And that's what people listen. Pocket passers are the winners. The guys like
pocket passer?
Your boy Tom Brady.
But who else?
Aaron Rodgers.
He's not a pocket passer.
For the most part.
He scrambles.
No, he's not.
He makes plays.
For the most part. But it's interesting. Going back to Jalen Hurts, his numbers are very similar to a quarterback everyone is begging for us to trade for. Russell Wilson. So,
I agree with. Listen, I agree. I don't know why anybody would root against your quarterback. You root against your quarterback. How you gonna win? You want your team to win, but I don't understand that. But I agree with you. People were.
Yeah, I just think it's unfair. That's the reason. Listen, I'm not an Eagles fan, but I'm slowly becoming one. I've never been an Eagles fan. I never liked the Eagles like that. Randall was okay. We like Randall and stuff like that. Yeah. Mike Quick. You know what I'm saying? And with Deuce Staley, I think at one time, whatever. I even like McNabb or whatever. I even like T.O. I did root for the Eagles in the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? But, it's just like, I don't know. I had a problem. I think, last time you were on here, I didn't like Carson. I still don't like Carson because Carson is a benefit of a brief moment in time, and yet the one that got it done.
How does this always?
No. I'm just saying. No, we just haven't.
No, but I understand it. But you always find a way to bring the conversation back. Go ahead.
You said Carson played well last night.
No, he said played terrible last night.
Oh, you say played terrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. I'll leave Carson alone. But I don't like Carson. I do think Nick Foles is the greatest quarterback in history.
But Jason, you touched on it. I mean, you kind of talked demographic. I mean, there's still systemic prejudice towards African American quarterbacks. It just is. There's no possible way that if Baker Mayfield were black, and I don't have any problem saying controversial things. That's what my life's about. There's no way possible
Baker sucks.
Baker Mayfield had been drafted number 1 if he were black. And there's just no way. There's no possible way with him being arrested and the other thing that he did on national TV. There's no way he'd been drafted number 1 because you can see even when you get quarterbacks who do the right things, they're not drafted like that. So
no,
there's still that prejudice.
And listen, Coach, who in your opinion is the greatest quarterback in Eagles history?
Who, me?
Yes.
Donovan McNabb. I don't think it's close.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I agree, Coach.
Who's the greatest Philly Eagle head coach in Eagle history?
Andy Reid. I don't think that's close either.
And I always knew I liked Coach a lot. I don't.
I'm a big and like you said earlier about Simmons, like Andy Reid, it was time for him to go. It was time for Carson to go. It's time for McNabb to go, and it's time for Simmons to go. But I think that's what I think. Jason, what do you think?
Doug Peterson.
Why?
He got it done. He won.
But it's not about.
He unlocked all of y'all. Listen, I've never been somewhere where you win the Super Bowl and it's a holiday.
I just don't think it's all about the championship. I don't know. It's not all about the championship. I mean,
Thank you.
you got sometimes you need a little. You got to have a great organization.
You say that now after you got your shit.
No, but listen.
But you say it now because you got your shit.
Listen,
You
I've
know what I'm
always
saying?
loved
It's all
Doug.
good.
I thank you, Doug. We love you for what you did, but you are not the greatest coach in the history of the Eagles.
Greatest call, Philly.
That was Nick Foles. I think that was
Nick Cole.
that was Nicky. I hate to
playbook was it?
No,
Whose playbook?
you're right.
Come on. You gotta give the man due. That's
No. I can't
come
I can't
on,
give you that one.
coach. Come
If
on, coach.
if I have a play, we run all the plays every day. We go through all our plays in practice. We're at a crucial time, and I call whatever, and my point guard goes, no, let's run this. I can't take credit for that.
Oh, I'm not saying that you take credit for it. I'm saying that you gave him the framework. It's his play, though.
Right. I agree, Jason. I agree. We agree, Jason.
Somebody else from somewhere else, like everybody's plays. Nobody has their own shit.
So
Okay.
Philly was probably Hawaii at one point.
Well, it's Philly now.
Listen. I mean, this is fantastic, though, man. I mean, Coach Allen.
Gotta have you back, coach.
Yeah.
Gotta
Well,
have
thank you. I appreciate it. You have a great show.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the support. We appreciate, like I said, I know just the growth. Definitely, get us the connection with the coach. We're definitely going to reach out, try to get Brunson on here too. If any words that you can put in his ear, we appreciate the help too.
Okay.
But look, we appreciate it once again. Definitely want to have you on. And any last comments for Coach before we let him go?
Hey, listen, just come on as a guest,
Yes.
just to have good dialogue and conversation. This is very enjoyable.
Absolutely.
I enjoy it. That's what I wanted to do. I interned at WIP when I was in college for Mike Missinelli and Steve Frederick's show. So
Mike Missinelli.
I enjoy it. It's what I planned on doing with my life. Didn't work out, but thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
But listen, I know we said that, and we keep saying this. What is your thoughts on the Mike Missinelli show?
Oh, I love Mike. He's been great to me. I mean, he was great for me. So I love him and his show. Angelo Cataldi. What those guys did for me was like, and one day I'd have to tell you what they did for me as a college kid applying for a job over there. When I walked in with all the Big Five schools, and they showed me around during my interview process. And I said, hey, to the guy who was interviewing me, you act like I got the job. He said, if Angelo Cataldi recommends you in the job, and the way Mike treated me, first class, go to games, it was just great. Just a great experience. So the question is, what do you think of it?
Well, the Mike Missinelli show, I do love Mike. I think he's very straightforward with the players. But the one thing I always say about Mike is you can't tell him that he's not right.
Yeah, well, he's strong. Yeah, I agree. He's strong-willed there.
But the best,
He was right about something.
It's not called the Randy Duncan.
the best thing to happen to that show was Tyrone, and when Tyrone Johnson got that spot, because he finally pushes back on Missinelli a little bit too, and I love watching them go about it.
He does.
So, listen, Coach, thank you so much. We're definitely going to have you on again.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays.
Thank you.
Take care, Coach.
Later.
Let's give Coach a round of applause. It's a
Man.
great interview.
Oh, phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, that was great. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, there was so much good talk and discussion there.
Yeah. He likes to debate. See, and that's what I like stuff.
Oh, I know.
I like that.
Listen.
That I love.
Listen, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I think, like I said, we definitely, once again, for those who are just maybe tuning in, who didn't know who our guest was, that was Coach Dave Allen from Cherry Hill East Boys Basketball. Go definitely check out that interview, not just about himself and about the program and about his influences, but just some great conversation on the Sixers and his thoughts and philosophies in general. So, but listen, but with that said, Jay and Marcus, I think we just come for our final thoughts of the show tonight. So, what do you think?
What, are you asking me what my final thought is?
I don't know if there was any other topics we didn't touch on that you wanted to touch on.
Nah, I think, I definitely have my little daily dose of Carson and
All the time.
I'm good.
Always,
I'm good.
always the
Good.
thing is.
I'm good. I'm good.
always.
Nah, I thought it was I thought we had good dialogue, and just my only final thought is this. It's the last week before Christmas, and I just want everybody to, hey, listen, prepare and just get ready to spend some time with their families and friends, and don't forget the reason for the season. That's the main thing,
Absolutely. And be safe.
Yeah, and be safe. Yeah.
And be safe.
Yeah, it's Omnicron or whatever. Is it Omnicron? Is that how you pronounce it? Omnicron?
Omnicron. Yeah.
It's this thing is.
It's scary, man.
It is.
really is. Because it's scary because I was saying this yesterday too, was that this is exactly how it kind of all unfolded before we went to the shutdown.
Yeah,
And
it was a little different though. But I get what you're saying.
like you
It's
said,
similar.
I've seen this
It was similar. You've seen it
play out,
before.
and I just hope that is not the direction that we're going.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
So-
I did like being virtual sometimes.
I know, but you didn't like, everything around you being shut down.
Yeah, you know what? I know we talked about it. We celebrated that's when I saw a coach at the shop right or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But I did not like washing groceries, bro. I didn't like washing. I didn't like that. That was annoying. I still wear a mask in a grocery store.
Absolutely. Well, I went. Absolutely. Even like last night at the game, I had the
You had a mask
mask
on?
on like 70% of the time.
Said 70%.
Yeah, I was taking a sip. I had to,
Listen. I could go to a bar and I'm starting out with my mask on. By the end of the first drink or second drink, it's a wrap.
That's all.
And then you drop it and you're like, oh, okay. And now I'm like, wait a minute, what is this doing? I'm putting the germs on my face anyway.
It's done. It's done.
Coach, what are your final thoughts?
Nah, same thing, man. Looking forward to the holidays. We have our first game tomorrow, so definitely excited about that. Yeah, man, it's just it's two more. I got 2 more days, and then I'm good.
Yeah,
All right.
I got 2 more days.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But listen, great luck in your game tomorrow. Hope
Thank
you guys get the W.
Appreciate it.
Like you said, just kind of piggybacking off is just hoping that this holiday season is good, safe for people. I'm interested to see what happens between now and the next time we do a show, even now and Tuesday, as far as the games and the health of players go with the protocols. I mean, the Sixers are supposed to play tomorrow night in Boston. Something tells me that game is going to end up getting postponed too. But we'll see. But listen, with that said, like I said, we just hope for the best.
Do
Jay?
you know that next week will be our year-end show? So for all those listening, and when you share, make sure you definitely are tuned in, I guess, next week, because that's our last show of the year.
Yeah.
Last show of 21.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
it is.
That's
Right.
very crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Because I think the first show of 21, we were still quarantined. Were we still quarantined? I think we were, right? We were
Yeah.
virtual. I know we were virtual.
No, we were virtual because it was because
No, we were
we
virtual.
started and figured that everything shut down March 2020.
Right.
So in January 2021, we were doing our shows virtually.
A little bit. Not all the
I
time.
don't think we were. I think we had our masks on.
I think we had a mask on. I think you're right.
Okay. Well, I know the
I think
venue
you're right.
the venue hadn't changed yet though.
No,
No, we weren't in here.
not yet.
No.
No.
Coming soon, but not yet.
Right. Rocky was still a co-star at that
Yeah,
point.
he was. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
tough. Listen,
Yeah.
they can tune in.
And we still had Shay Shay. Shout out Shay Shay.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, still
Yes,
had
we
Shay
did.
Shay. Yeah.
Always all along for everyone who's been a guest, for everyone who's liked and followed and shared our material and helped us continue to grow. We appreciate it. Tune in, next week for our show. Again, like I said, we're always looking for more people to come on. If you want to come on and debate, let us know. Shoot us a message. And with that said, for Marcus Bullock, for Jason Bryce, I'm Randy Duckin. Appreciate you watching. Let's get it. Once again, thanks to Coach Allen, and we'll catch you next time.